Welcome to Criminal Gems, a comedic true crime watch-along podcast where we watch Criminal Minds, yes, all 15 seasons, and discuss the true crime that can be linked, however indirectly, to the episode. We're your hosts, Stacy Johnson and Veronica Shea. This week, we're joined by Jay Washington and discussing Season 1, Episode 5, Broken Mirror. My work here is done. Goodbye, everyone. Have a good episode.
Oh my god, this is what you're in for. Okay, episode 5 was the twins episode where one twin is abducted and her boyfriend is killed. She's held hostage and the kidnapper contacts the family multiple times and tries to kidnap the second twin as well, but is foiled by Elle, who is still as annoying as ever. But it's one of the FBI agents out of the field office there in Connecticut who's doing it and is trying to kidnap the twins.
Wait, it was my full disclaimer. My schedule was like so busy, so I didn't see the full episode. But like, I'm just being amazed. The fact you said it was an FBI agent that did it. I was like, this is episode 5 of the first season. They was like, you know what? We're gonna make it an inside job already. Let's just go on there and do that.
Right. Go big or go home.
Everything was by phone communication, but the FBI agent had inserted a bug because they did a sweep for bugs, and then he inserted a bug because he was on the inside, so he could hear them when he was away making the ransom phone calls. Like, that was kind of the whole thing of the episode. So it was an inside job. I know the first season, Jay, we were talking about this in like episode 1, is bonkers because they throw everything at it.
I think you got to, though, with a show like this, because you have so many crime drama shows on TV, right?
Yeah.
We know, Dick Wolf has every last one of them. Like, he was like, I'm gonna make everything.
Yeah.
And so you have to make something that competes with it, but stands out at the same time.
No, for sure. I'm rewatching SVU right now, and there's a lot of serial killer crossover, and I'm like, oh my, they like really leaned into the serial killers in like later seasons. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this just feels like true crime love, which is interesting for SVU. But yeah, so the whole thing is like twins stuff, right? Which is why I initially thought like, oh, it should be the Millbrook Twins from Atlanta, because those are the only twins I've ever found to be abducted at the same time. But it ends up being Shari Faye, and we'll get into that. But Jay, you're going to die. They meet the first twin, the non-abducted twin, because she is laying on the pavement in the street where her other twin was abducted to get a feel for her twin. So she's doing some insane behavior.
That's some, like, dog sniffing, like, find its owner type shit.
No, that is some G.I. Joe, one twin feels the other twin pain type shit.
Yeah, and so, like,
I need the vibes. Hold on.
Literally, they come up and they ask one of the agents, they're like, hey, what's she doing? And she's like, everyone be quiet. And then she like proceeds to talk through the whole thing. And she was like, I know this is weird, but like, I'm just getting a vibe for my sister. And,
is
like,
weird the word she should have used? She's like, I know this is very white woman, but that's what this is.
Yes.
Like, if she'd have pulled out a crystal, that's the only thing could have made this shit even more weird. Just, like, hold on, just wait a minute, I got this crystal. Like,
literally. And they're like, okay, cool. And so then the one agent is like, you mean you know like how twins know? And she gets so defensive. And she was like, I study science. I'm not telling you that I believe in something non-scientific. I'm just telling you what I feel. I'm like, okay, literally, no one puts you on blast. We are asking questions because you are a person lying in the middle of the road. Like, what is happening? And I was like, this is absolutely wild. And then we find out that they're mirror twins, which means one of the twins has their organs on the other side of their body. So, like, if they stand in front of each other, they're identical. I know.
Did you know that was a thing?
No, I knew of identical and fraternal.
Yeah.
I didn't know mirror twins was a thing.
Yeah. So mirror twins is a thing. And so Kristen is going to join us to talk about twins for our segment Peer Review.
Let's talk about twins. We got to talk about genetics a little bit, and then that's going to lead us into why twin research is such a thing. So let's start with the different types of twins. There's basically like 7 types, but you guys are probably most familiar with fraternal and identical. Those are the most common types of twins. So those are the 2 that I'm going to be talking about.
Nailed it,
so
Jay.
Nailed it,
what?
Jay.
He said, I only know about fraternal and
Identical. Yeah, that's it.
Those are the most common. So yeah, nice. So fraternal twins means that there's 2 different eggs and each of them are fertilized by separate sperm, but they're developing in the womb at the same time. So they're different genetic packages, right? Fraternal twins share about 50% of their genes. Then there's identical twins, which means that it's 1 egg fertilized by the same sperm and then that egg splits at some point. So same genetic package. Identical twins share 100% of their genes. And then there are different types of identical twins, parasitic, conjoined. V, you mentioned mirror earlier. And I know there's mirrored twins in the episode, and mirrored twins means that the egg just split a little later in development, which results in some asymmetrical physical differences between the 2 twins. So one might be left-handed, one might be right-handed. One might have a hair swirl that goes one way, the other could have a hair swirl that goes the other way. Their organs could be on opposite sides of their bodies, stuff like that.
Wild.
It's weird. I don't know, man. It just depends. And if the egg splits too late, that's when conjoined twins happens. So like right before that is mirrored twins. Right after that is conjoined twins.
What is parasitic twins?
Okay,
That's
I've been
the word.
waiting to ask that question.
I've been waiting. We just glanced over that shit. I mean, nobody. We just went past that one. I was like, no.
Past it, and I was waiting to ask so many questions. Thank you, Jay.
So I didn't look into that one too much, but it's essentially where the one twin absorbs the other twin.
It's where you eat your twin in the womb.
So you eat your twin in the womb. It's like parasitic, right? It's like a parasite. So yeah, that's what that one is.
All right.
I think there's a serial killer who's a parasitic twin.
Ew.
I'm almost positive. Serial killer, 8 twin in womb. Let's look. I'm almost positive.
8 twin. Well, they don't have to eat them. They can like absorb them, or it just kind of merges into their body at some point.
My head hurts now.
I think. I don't know. I'm not an expert, man.
Oh, it's Larry Hall. So his brother Gary fed on him in the womb in a monochorionic pregnancy.
I don't know that one.
I don't either, and I'm not going to look into it because that's not what we're talking about. But yeah, that's like a thing.
Gross. Well, not gross. I don't know. Weird. Interesting. Unique. I don't know what to say about that.
It's a something.
It's a something. Okay, so identical twins, when they're in the womb, they can share placentas or have separate placentas. They can also share the inner sacs, or they can have separate inner sacs. This kind of is more important later when we talk about the research. And then also fraternal twins will always have separate placentas. And then all children always have a separate umbilical cord. And then the umbilical cord and the placenta is how the babies get oxygen and food from their mother.
Ew.
Sick.
So
pregnancy.
many words that I did not appreciate. This peer review is not going well already.
These are facts, man. Don't get mad at me. I'm just telling you about the birds and the bees. I can't do anything about it.
Still.
Okay.
I don't like it.
Great. I'm going to fail.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a preview.
I'm so stressed. Okay, so then this leads us into twin research. So why does any of that matter? Well, it really comes down to the nature versus nurture question. So the nature versus nurture question is, do genes or the environment have more influence over an individual? So for example, did the environment give a person a higher IQ, or were they genetically predisposed to have a higher IQ, right? And that's just a really simple example.
Who was like the first person who like posited that question?
Yeah, so I talk about that in the next section, but I can talk about it now if you want.
Next section.
Nature versus nurture really came about because of Darwin. So once Darwin came onto the scene, people were like, oh, how much play does genetics versus environment have? And his half cousin is the one who invented twin studies and coined the term eugenics. So I'll talk about that.
Don't love that term.
Okay, so you guys can imagine the nature versus nurture question is really complex. It's hard to pinpoint which variable makes the person have the higher IQ from my previous example, right? It's hard to parse out. Was it what they ate? Was it their mother? Was it this gene? Was it how this gene was expressed in this way? So this is kind of where twins come in. Because twin studies rely on this assumption that you have either all genes being the same, like with identical twins, or you have all environment being the same, like with fraternal twins. So you can sort of control for these variables and say, oh, if there are differences in the identical twins, we can pinpoint where in the environment there's an issue. Or we can say they both have cancer, so it's a genetic thing, and here's the gene. So essentially, these twin studies try to eliminate these variables that come with studying nature versus nurture. Hopefully that makes sense. So that makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great, because I really want to pass today.
You already said placenta like 100 times, and the word sack.
You have to!
And you said the word sack.
That's what happens when we talk about twins.
And eugenics. Like, you're not saying good words.
Fuck me. All right. So that is like the sort of theoretical assumptions and basis for twin research. And then the research gets real fucking weird. So it starts with Francis Galton, who was Darwin's half cousin. And he's the guy who first introduced twin studies. And he was the first one to, again, coin the term eugenics. So his whole life's work was about breeding out what he called bad traits, essentially, or bad characteristics within humans. So he sort of wanted to prove that genes ruled all and that you could breed the perfect human, which was gross. Which then leads us into the Nazi experiments and all these other terrible twin experiments, right? And I'm not going to talk about those too much because they don't make sense and they shouldn't have happened. And I don't really want to give too much credence to them. Because now, like, research currently is sort of showing that these assumptions are flawed. So the assumption that you can have a perfect little genetic package with twins and that, or you can have a perfect environmental situations with twins, it's not true. They're showing that identical twins have some genetic differences, and they're also showing that small minor environmental differences start happening when you're in the womb. So how I talked about you can have two separate placentas or two separate inner sacs or whatever. The development and the differences start within the womb because one's getting a different nutrient, one's getting different blood. So environmental factors happen basically immediately. So it's hard to parse that out down the line, right? Is this person not as smart as their twin because of the blood they got in the inner sac? Like, who knows? So
you just keep saying inner sac, and I don't know why.
And it's grossing
I
me
don't
out.
talk, just fail me. I'm not talking anymore.
No, I want to know.
No, give me the fail so I can go home. I'm not having a good time. So the last thing I really want to say about this is like environment and genetics. What we know about it as like scientists nowadays is they work in tandem. They work as soon as conception happens. It's hard to parse those out. So these twin studies nowadays can show how nature and nurture work together and how complex they are, but they don't really show, oh, genes are a stronger influence or nature is a stronger influence. You can't really parse those two out. It's too hard to do. It's too complex. So those original assumptions of twin research have kind of been proven to be false.
So the Nazis were just assholes.
Also, did you ever see that movie Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito?
So, I'm glad that was finally asked, because when she said she was coming in here to talk about twins, I thought I was lost. I was just wondering, I was like, when do we get to Arnold and Danny? Because I need to hear the story about 8 fathers and a milkshake and one mama. And the perfect being Arnold and the other shit being like, that's what I was waiting on.
Danny is kind of the perfect man. I'm sorry. A little pocket-sized perfection.
Danny DeVito, you hate short men.
You shouldn't say short men. Very
No,
short
means
people
short men.
really freak me out. Stacy freaks me out. She's very short, and she has like
I'm
these tiny
5'2".
hobbit feet.
I'm 5'2".
No.
That's
Thank
kinda
you.
normal.
That face, Jay. Yes. That's not normal. What do you mean that's kind of normal? You're missing like a knuckle
Jay,
in your toe. You're weirdly proportioned.
I know I will not. Okay.
Jay is like, I really wish I
do we have a
wasn't on
Patreon? Can we have people subscribe for feet
for feet pics. Yeah. Jay's are first.
Anyways, this has taken a turn. Jay, how tall are you?
I'm 5'11" in Jesus' name, but like, I'm missing no knuckles and no. Who says that the podcast host got hobbit feet this bit? Who says you got a deformity in your toes?
This is an informative podcast, Jay.
Yes. And no, I will not be showing my foot right now. I don't think I could reach this high.
Oh, man.
Jay's regretting every decision that's led him here.
Fair enough.
You're welcome. So, Kristen, did she pass or fail?
Yeah, what the hell, guys? I'm sitting here. I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay, well, I have questions. Did you find anything about twins where they can, like, feel each other or, like, the psychic connection or anything about twins?
Yeah, that's not... I didn't look into that.
Great. Cool.
So, I have thoughts. I am deducting points for how many times you said the word sack.
Yeah.
Okay.
And placenta.
Yeah.
Okay, too many placentas.
Too many placentas, too many sacks. However, that being said, I am going to pass you.
Really? On vibes only?
On vibes only, because this was smart.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Oh, I'm supposed to... You're not going to send me off like that. No, you won't pass. I'm just going to send me... Nope, you're not going to put me in no precarious-ass position. Pass. Nope. No, you will not. No, you will not. Nope. I'm going to just get this out of the way real easy. Pass. There we go.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I do think that I did preface it with she thought she could feel her twin. Are there twin studies like that? And then you said, I don't want to research the Nazis. And I said, have fun. And then you came at us with behavioral.
Oh, weird. The behavior scientist brought behavior to it.
I know. I will also pass you, Kristen.
On vibes only?
On vibes only.
On vibes only.
Fuck yeah. Thanks, you guys. Next time, I'll keep the placentas and the sacks out of it, okay?
Thank you.
That's all we
Okay. I mean, look, I didn't find out much about the Danny DeVito, Arnold Schwarzenegger shit that I was hoping for.
You should fail her on that alone.
No, this is what I did learn. That twins absorb the other and just be cool with the shit. For some fucking reason, twins can have different blood and nutrients in the womb that's all coming the same. The nutrients I can get. But again, that means it shows why one is crazy and one is normal. But the different blood is the weirdest shit. Nature versus nurture ends up hearing a lot more about sex. Yeah, that's what I got.
Excellent. Then I've done a good job. Thanks, everybody.
Great, peer reviewed. Okay, well, but here's the thing. So she was talking about like eugenics and trying to make the perfect person, and that is gross. And we are seeing that meme go around. Although this will be a few months ago, there was the meme that was going around. Have you seen that, Jay? About the like couples in, oh my God, in Silicon who are fucking like bunnies trying to save the planet because there's like a decline in pregnancies. And I'm like,
what?
Ew, they look terrifying. It literally looks like Olivia Colman and Ansel Elgort. And it's like very creepy. But I will say that
you know what that is, though, right?
No, tell me.
There's not a decline in pregnancies. There's a specific thing. There's a decline in white pregnancies. That's why you have the Roe v. Wade shit. It's not about any other race.
Yeah.
It's literally, it's all just literally because they're like, yo, white people it's on track to be the minority. So it's like, we need to reproduce that. And because of the minority, not just because of babies, just regular babies, it's because there's so many mixed biracial babies.
The pretty babies.
The pretty ones.
Biracial babies. The most beautiful babies.
And so that's but the perfect person, that's okay. That sounds like a fucking beginning of a horror movie. Okay.
Yes, that's literally what I said. I tweeted out, I was like, this is A24's new horror movie coming in summer 2024. It's so creepy. But I do think we might have found the perfect person in Shemar Moore.
Oh.
No, it's not you, Stacy. Oh my God. We just went over you have weird feet. Obviously, it's not you.
I try.
Oh my gosh. Do we want to rate Shemar Moore? I'm sure
Yes, we do.
This is why really Jay's here.
Gimme more. Look, if I got to rank Shemar Moore, I'm going to tell you why. Okay, cool. Watch this. Go ahead. Let me see. What year did this episode come out? Hold on.
2005, I think.
Okay. All right. 2005. Don't worry. Okay.
So
cool.
we rate them on a scale of 1 to 5 helpings of Shemar Moore. And I emailed you a photo late last night.
Well, I saw the movie. I saw the photo you did.
Good. That's the photo that's going to pop up.
I got it. All right. Well, y'all go first. I got the answer. I got my answer.
All right.
Okay. Stacey, you want to go or you want me to go?
You go first.
Okay. I'm going to give him a 3 for this episode. 1, the purple shirt is back, which I really do not appreciate. The tie is also back, and I thought we were getting a little bit more away from that. And he like, this goober of an FBI agent gets the jump on him and like tases him, and I don't think that's appropriate. So I'm doing a 3.
Okay. All right, that's fair.
Jay's like, this is some bullshit. What am I?
No. Because I'm waiting to get my response. That's all. I'm just sitting there like, nope, I got my response set and loaded.
Because I really want to make friends with Jay. I feel like
You've already made friends. You've already done that. Look, you don't even have to try. You've already done that. You're good. You're good.
Oh, yay. Okay, then.
I don't like this.
Why not?
I
better
don't like this
You better
at all.
accept it. It's happening. Accept it.
Yeah, I'm making more friends. Anywho, so I think I'm going to rate this Shemar Moore a 4.
Okay.
Well, this Shemar Moore for me would have actually probably gotten a 4 or a 5, but it is the inclusion of the Steve Harvey suit that brings me down a little bit. The Kings of Comedy colors bring me down a bit, but also because this is 2005, I would like for you also to Google 2005 Shemar Moore, and something else will pop up, and that is Shemar Moore in Diary of a Mad Black Woman with the Worst Braids Ever. So because of that, that will lower my Shemar Moore rating to a 1.
Yes.
Look at, those are fake braids, though.
I know they are, but it's still, he wore it for a whole goddamn movie. You thought,
These are bad.
That's why when you said the year, I knew exactly what I was comparing it to. And I knew exactly what I was going to.
Oh my God.
No. Oh no. These are bad.
Yep, see?
Oh
Yep.
no.
It is the staple of what would become Tyler Perry movie hairstyles.
This is bad.
Oh my God.
Yep, so that is my Shemar Moore rating. Look, I think he probably is a good dude. We have a lot of mutual friends. We have not met each other in person. And if we probably did, the first thing I would ask him is like, how did you not have those photos scrubbed from the internet? But look, I also want to fight the costumer on this episode because you put this man in a light Grimace shirt. Like,
Yes.
which, by the way, for people who didn't know, Grimace from the McDonald's gang, Grimace, everybody wonder what the fuck is Grimace. Grimace is a taste bud. It is disturbing.
No way.
Is that what why is he purple?
I don't goddamn
Are
know.
taste buds purple?
No. 'Cause
Only
you
when
gotta
they
look at
get
the-
like infected.
Yes.
And they'll like pop out and they're purple.
Yeah, Grimace is a taste bud.
No way.
Oh my God.
I'm learning so much on this episode.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, he's in this color multiple times in the beginning of this season. It's like, why? Why are we doing that to him? Oh my gosh. Okay, well, let's get into the crimes, the true crimes then. Do we want to talk about the twins first and then go into Shari Faye?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so seeing how they've been missing still, the twins' information is very reminiscent. There's another situation of a pair of sisters that are still missing, Diamond and Tiana Bradley. And so, you know, reading about this and how they thought at one point, we might have found one. And then it's like, well, the DNA proved it wasn't one. I'm talking about the Millbrook sisters. And then for basically it's like the authorities are just like, well, if we find something, we find something. If we don't, we don't.
Yeah, and they like closed their case. And then they like just reopened it again in 2013. It's like these women are most likely still alive if they have, you know what I mean? Like we haven't found their bodies. You have to assume that they're still alive and they were kidnapped in 1990. And the fact that they were not publicized, like if these were 2 white girls, 15-year-old white girls, you know, they'd be everywhere. Jay's like, yeah, you're not telling me anything I don't.
No, because like the late great Patrice O'Neal said it best when he talked in his special Elephant in the Room. He talks about Natalie Holloway when she was missing. He was like, they searched day and night, everything, and they found out the dude who had killed her. And then they was like, there was a chick that was missing, a Peruvian woman, and they looked for 24 hours and let it go. It all shows the level of importance in law enforcement because you can say, leads died down and the trail has gone cold. But depending on who they're searching for will determine the level of priority. And so, yeah, these twins could still be alive. And as we've seen and heard about in many instances, you have people who've been abducted so long, they go through so much mental trauma where they're programmed to think there's somebody else.
Yeah.
And so their past life is gone. They don't know that they were those people. And especially when you have law enforcement who just gives up, they could be living lives and doing all this other stuff and being programmed to go back to wherever they were and not understanding who they were in their past.
Yeah, which we saw with Elizabeth Smart, where she like fought the people who found her.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. That was the exact thing I was thinking about, the Elizabeth Smart case.
Yeah, it's so sad, and it happens to young women every day, like across the globe. Ugh, I'm really sad that we have to do the missing women cases on this show. Because, yeah, that was like the only case I could find with twins. And the fact that they kept asking their family, like, can someone please walk with us? Like, we're freaked out. Can someone please walk with us on the day that they disappeared? Is like very sad. I can't imagine being a family member. You know, it's like, yeah, no, you're fine. Like, just go home. And then, I don't know, that would just be devastating to live with. But yeah, I wanted to give them all of our time. And then I was reading Mindhunter for this book club. And I was like, oh, this case is the Shari Faye Smith case because they used her sister as bait. So let's dive into Shari Faye and Larry Jean Bell.
Let's dive.
All right. Jay, you want to talk to us a little bit about Larry Jean?
Oh, I forgot. I damn near get a segment around here. So dude was considered to be one of the most like prolific, the most sadistic murderers in history, thanks to a retired FBI profiler who died, John Douglas.
John's not dead. John's not dead.
Oh, he's not dead? I thought I said he was dead. He nearly died. I chopped it as he died. Oh, I chopped it up as he
nearly
like,
died.
Well, my bad, John. I didn't mean to put you under before you my bad in case you hear this. I'm sorry. But to hear how he would profile, people like depending on the type of crime you did, where it was, and if it was the time of day, like, all right, if it's the time of day and if it's in a brighter time of the day, you got to be over 30. And then when he started realizing, when he tracked down Larry Bell, realizing that like, oh, the good version of him wouldn't have done this, but the bad version would. First of all, more than anything, how the fuck do you discern there's a good version and a bad version of a murderer?
Yeah. Well, because so he was part of the first study of serial killers where they would go and talk in depth with the serial killers and try to get to know them on like a very personal level. And so many of them talked about their dark self, and that's how they distance themselves, and it's how they live with themselves, leading two separate lives. Their good person and their bad person. Like BTK talks about that. It's why they put it in Dexter as his like dark passenger. Bundy would talk about it that way. Yeah, it's very crazy.
I guess it's just where you try to disassociate yourself from that and be like, notice the whole other person, but
it's not.
It's not. You're completely cognizant of what you're doing. You completely are aware of what you're doing. And to sit there and say, oh, well, it's not me. It's just this other person that lives inside of me. That's how you know. Like people who suffer from DID and things like that, they go through shit they have no idea has happened, because when they disassociate completely.
Yeah.
There isn't oh, well, it's just Mrs. Pennyworth on the inside. She just comes out and goes shopping for Brussels sprouts. There's no shit like that with a serial, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're a serial killer talking some, this is Ted Bundy, like, I'm cute ass Ted. But sometimes ugly ass Earl comes out and he just murder bitches. No, that's not how this goes.
Right.
And he talks about in Mindhunter. So this is his... Same guy, John Douglas, wrote it.
Oh, I guarantee. So guys that come up, if you ever have guys at your house, it must be a field day explaining this shit. So I read a lot of true crime shit. So if you're thinking about murdering me, they can find you. What?
Yeah, they can find you. And if I murder you, they will never find me. So don't worry about it.
Same.
But he talks about how he actually does use that against serial killers when they don't want to really talk. And he goes in and talks to them like, I know this wasn't really you who did this. And some people, like when they do bad things, it comes to them like a nightmare. Like they didn't really do it. And it's almost setting the defense, like you said, for disassociation, like defense of insanity. But juries never go for that. It's almost impossible to get that defense. So they end up confessing under this, like the guise of an insanity plea that he knows will not hold up in court, but they get the confession that does hold up. So he's like, here you go. Is it your bad person? Do you have a bad person with you? Let's talk about what the bad person did.
I wonder how many cases with other serial killers, murderers, and whatnot have had to gone through, they got through on the insanity plea before somebody was finally like, hey, all these motherfuckers ain't crazy. Like, they're just evil.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
Right.
Well, and also with Larry Jean, like, I am so mad about him because his profile, they had said he was single, probably divorced. that he lived alone or with his parents, which he was living with his parents when they arrested him. He works with his hands, deep-seated feelings of inadequacy, not likely to surrender or confess, right? And Larry Jean, like, to a T, and that he would have past sexual indiscretions, which this bitch did. He was involved in multiple sexual incidents since he was a kid. And then one got quote unquote out of hand when he was 26. And he tried to force a 19-year-old woman at knife point into his car. And instead of prison, he agreed to psychiatric counseling, which he quit after 2 sessions. Then he tried to force another college girl into his car at gunpoint, and he got 5 years, but was then paroled after 21 months. While on probation, he placed over 80 obscene phone calls to a 10-year-old girl and only got more probation, and then went on to kill these 2 women and possibly 2 others.
Nope, don't let me say nothing because I know exactly what I'm going to say. I'm going to be quiet.
I mean, can you? In what world?
Easy in this one.
I know.
It's easy in this one. Look, some people going to get mad to hear it this way, but look, this is the proof that
right.
white dudes get away with shit like that.
You're correct. If he was a black man, he would have been that
first one, he might have, the first one maybe depending on his lawyer, but guarantee he'd have had a public defender, so he wouldn't have got off. Let's just keep it real. But then when you have somebody like the Brock, whatever dude his name, the rapist dude, Brock Turner, the swimmer dude that was like, I don't want to mess his future up. Fuck his future.
Fuck that dude.
You have situations like this where everything has already said there is nothing good going to come from this person. Because we have this belief as a society. There is this belief that going to jail is a rehabilitative process. It will rehabilitate a person. It'll turn a person around and change how they feel. You cannot, it is nature versus nurture. His nature is sexual assault for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
You can't nurture that out of him.
No.
No matter what no matter how many courses, how much psychotherapy you do, no much psychoanalyzing you do. His nature is that. And so everything said in the past that he would have done this. And it's not any that, we could have never predicted he would have done these things. You absolutely could have.
Yeah. I mean, you could have so much that in the profile, so even predicting his past, they were like, well, he definitely has done this. This is not his first time around. You know, it's like, so why are we, I just don't believe in rehabilitation for serial killers or people who commit sexual assault, because I do think that is, like you're saying, like that's wired into you at that point. But meanwhile, we have like everyone who's, held a dime bag in for their lives, because why not? Like, that's insane. I hate this. I hate this country. What were you going to say, Stace?
It's exhausting. I have so many thoughts on it, and it's hard to parse out. But again, a lot of it, too, I don't feel like is my space as, like, a person of non-color to speak on, I can speak to my experience within certain, like, communities, but at that same time, it's just ridiculous. I have a lot of thoughts. Too many thoughts. Too many thoughts.
Too many thoughts.
You can make these shows based off of people they've profiled. And then when you look at the overwhelming majority of the cases or actual perpetrators they use, there's a pattern.
Yeah.
There's a pattern. But then you can't tell me this is a small percentage. And I'm not saying it's everyone, but you're like, yo, don't you think you can tell when people do certain shit?
Yes. And I mean, there has been a rise in serial crime, we'll call it that, whether it be rape, murder, abduction, since the 60s, since this, the era of Bundy and Zodiac. Well, obviously Zodiac was before Bundy, but Bundy made it, quote unquote popular. Or we definitely see a rise in school shootings, in mass murder. There is a pattern, and you can see it, and there are definite signs.
I'd be interested to see, like, what the data is to support, like, reoffenders based on, like, certain types of crime, too. Because then that would support the nature versus nurture argument as well. Like, that was in his nature. Why did we do X, Y, and Z? This is this type of crime. It is this percentage high that they are going to reoffend again no matter what program that we put them through, aka, like, prison or jail, because that is not rehabilitative. And, so I'd be interested to see what the data is to back that up.
I think our society would have to care about criminals to make that happen is the problem. It's like, I think we as a society like to put people in jail or prison and then think like, well, that's that then, which it's not, because the aim should be to rehabilitate non-violent offenders for sure and get them back in society, just like a little timeout instead of a forever timeout and derailing their entire lives and turning them into career criminals, which is kind of what prison does.
You have a few who get out, you have some people who get out of prison and they say, I'll never want to do this again.
Yeah.
Granted, there are some people who turn their lives around, but you have others who it is embedded in their genetic code, if you will. And to sit there and say, oh man, they'll get out, they'll turn their life around, they'll have a family and blah, 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 blah. Next thing you know, they end up doing the same shit again with the family.
Yeah.
So when you have these serial killers, when you have these serial offenders, when you have these people who, Maya Angelou said it best, when someone shows you who they are the first time, believe them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is not just a quote about the average person you meet in life. But I'm going to shut my thick shoulder ass up. I'm going to just sit here and just hold myself.
Oh, Jay.
No, it's just because, to talk about all these different issues and different people like this who have been through history. And when we say history, it's funny because history isn't even 100 years ago. You're talking 30, 40 years at max in some cases. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 30, 40 years at max. And it's the repeat level of having these incidents happen and having these things consistently go on. And then people, like you said, you get locked up one time. All right, well, we're going to parole you, because parole is just, are you good in jail?
Yeah.
Parole isn't just we think you're going to be okay outside. In order to have parole, you just have to prove to the parole board you're remorseful and you won't do it again and you've learned your lesson. That is all you have to prove to a parole board. Yeah. That is it. You can literally be when you're eligible, when they give you a parole, when you're eligible for parole, if that let's say this was a horrible sexual assault offender and the first time they're eligible for parole, if they prep themselves, they can pass through the parole. If they sound sincere and not like they prepped themselves, they can get out.
Yeah. Well, and these, guys, the serial killers are some of the most charming, believable liars because that's how they get their victims. And John Douglas was saying that he would, visit prisons and talk to the rehabilitation counselors, psychiatrists and stuff, and ask them, because they are the people who also go to bat on behalf of the prisoners on if they should be paroled. And he found out that one was going to suggest parole for a very violent serial killer that he helped put behind bars. And so he went to talk to him and he was like, why? And he was, explained that in prison, he's a model prisoner. He's really broken down walls and opened up and all this stuff. And he was like, okay, do you know why he's here? And he's like, well, I don't like to, look at the case because I don't want it to cloud my judgment. Mm-hmm. And John Douglas said, absolutely not. You're going to look at the case and see what he did because he murdered 12 8-year-old girls and he will do it again. And he is lying to you. And so he ended up changing his mind. But it's like, you can't be like, oh yeah, this guy who has no past because I don't want to look at it can go free because he mops up after lunch and he's such a good prisoner. It's like, what?
The comic in me was about to compare that to so many. This is how quick my brain worked. I was like, I can compare that to so many different things. Case in point, you ready? Oh shit. Well, here we go.
Here we go.
You know how women say a lot of times they deal with a lot of bullshit ass dudes and the dudes all follow the exact same pattern the dudes they like. And then be like, oh, well, he's a different person, but everything he might have done is mimicking everything they've seen beforehand, but they ignore it. Or guys who deal with women just like that. They're like, oh, she's okay, but you see those patterns and you let it go. So in the grand, you don't want to think of what the past was. You look at you look at what's in front of you. You look at your tunnel vision. And that's what happens in these institutions and things like that.
Yeah, it's really wild. People are crazy. We just, I think, want what's comfortable, or what we know.
Not even, I wouldn't say comfort. It's what you know. It's what it's your comfort, but it's only what you're like, I just know this. Yeah. If I'm afraid to step out of that comfort zone.
Yeah, even if it's detrimental to you, it's the devil you know.
Mm-hmm. Opposed to the devil you don't.
Yeah, even if the devil you don't is Eden, like paradise. It's like, it's okay, I just know this. But, okay, so Shari Faye, we've been talking a lot about her without really talking about her. So Shari Faye Smith was abducted at 17 by Larry Gene Bell. And what I thought was so interesting was he called the family to harass them. And specifically her older sister who looked just like her. And he kept calling her to talk about Shari. Even after they found her remains, he would call the family to talk to Dawn. And he became very fixated on her, to the point where he was like, where she was like, why did you do this? And he was like, I just wanted to make love to Dawn, and it got out of hand. And Dawn was like, excuse me? And he was like, I mean Shari. And so then they started thinking like maybe he got the wrong sister, that he had become obsessed with Dawn and accidentally took Shari, because they do think that he was, then they can't prove it, but they have quote unquote linked him to 2 other abductions of, you know, early 20-year-old women. So it would make more sense with Dawn because she was 21.
Can you imagine the sister? You're already sad you lost your sister, right? You're sad your sister was murdered. But then to find out the only reason your sister was murdered was because possibly it was supposed to be you.
I can't even.
The guilt.
Yeah. And he ensured that he had living victims by contacting the family and, you know, and harassing them. Like, he called her, after they found the remains, he called her collect as Shari Faye. So the operator or whatever was like, will you accept a collect call from Shari Faye? And they had just found her body the day before. That's like some real fucked up sadistic shit.
There's a level of evil in this world that I don't think we'll ever understand. I don't think it's new. I think it's always been there. I think we're just more cognizant of it. I think we're more aware of it because of podcasts like this and, you know, the TV shows and things like that, because we realize, oh, it's a lot of psychopathic ass people out here.
Yes. I also think, because a lot of people do talk to me about my obsession with true crime, and I do say very flippant things. Again, it's like, you know, the comedian in us and stuff that's like, oh, I have favorite serial killers. Oh, I love that case. Like, and I, of course, don't mean that I like these people. I just find it very interesting because I do think that especially, you know, women have to be aware of what is out there and what can happen, and to listen to that voice that tells you to cross the street or to not go down the alley or don't get in the car, you know, those kinds of things. And it's wild to me when women are like, oh, it's so dark, I don't want to know any of that stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, you're gonna get kidnapped. Like, please educate yourself, because they're real. These monsters are real, you know? It's not horror, it's true.
But it is horror. It is horror. It's real life horror.
Yeah. But it's like, I don't understand the girls who love horror movies and can't watch true crime. I'm like, that's got to be the other way around, babes. Like, you got to know what's out there, because Pennywise isn't coming for you, but Ted Bundy is. Like, I don't know.
A dude that looks like Tim Curry is.
Oh, that was so good.
Or a dude that looks like Bill Skarsgård is.
Also very good.
Hey, Bill. Hey, babes.
See? And this is why people like you get snatched the fuck up.
I am too thick to snatch.
No, you're not.
That would have to be a team.
Not.
It'd have to be at least 2 people to snatch this.
Let me tell you something. All right, listen, let me preface this before I say this shit.
Oh, Jay could snatch me. Jay is very strong.
I'm going to preface the fuck out this. The following comments made by Jay Washington about them not about to be indicative of the fact that he just want to snatch up women. It's just saying. As somebody who bench presses 500 pounds, there are people who are just as strong. As somebody who shoulder presses 260 on each arm, don't think your size has anything to do with it.
Oh my God, you would have died the other day. I got trapped under my shoulder press. I don't want to tell you what it was. And I was like, ugh, and I had to stand up and put it back on the bar. I was like, this is so embarrassing.
Help me out, Lord. Okay, here we go. You know, but no, I hear a lot of people always say that. I've heard people like, oh, a person a certain size. There's even comics that joke and say, well, if you don't want to be kidnapped, be this way. That doesn't stop anything.
Yeah.
That doesn't stop anything. It's the equivalent of saying, well, you know how they keep saying that the gun issue in this country is a mental health debate. But people who we really diagnose with mental health issues, Down syndrome, mental retardation, things like that, you never hear them shooting up anything.
No.
And by all intents and purposes studies, people who have had those situations have had that strength that they could do things. You see what you get where the correlation I'm going with all these things? People think it's one thing, but it's never that. When you're determined to do something, some people can do shit.
Yeah. Well, and that's true too. It's like you were saying, like, you're so strong. You know what I mean? And you can lift all this stuff, and you were a pro wrestler. But if someone has a gun or tases you, it doesn't matter. Yes, it doesn't matter.
Right. Well, and we also forget, like, adrenaline too can make people do some crazy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like fight or flight, people think those are the only two options. There's actually a third, more common option, which is freeze. Fight or flight and freeze. Those are the three options.
Really?
Yeah. And a lot of people will freeze and then blame themselves of like, well, I didn't fight back and I didn't run away. And it's like your body was saying to survive this, play possum. Just freeze.
The fuck is everything? A bear coming at you?
I was like...
A possum on my shirt.
The fuck is everything? Like a fucking grizzly coming at you? Just play dead.
Just
pretty much.
If a grizzly was coming at me, it would have to stop myself from trying to hug it. I'm so obsessed with bears. I would be like, let me love you. I'd be like, let me get in there.
You know what?
I am a white woman.
I was just going to say, I'm not glad you said it. I didn't have to. I'm glad it came out of your fucking mouth because I'd have been like, that is the whitest shit I've ever heard. Because also, if you see the shit I put on Instagram, it's always white people trying to high five bears. You my best friend. The bear like, yeah, bring your dumb ass on this way. The bear don't like you.
I know. I worked with a bear for a short film. I was ADing and I got so close to it, and they have like the electric fence that they can like roam into, and I was like, if it passes close enough, I could just feel it. And the trainer saw me coming, and he was like, move along, and I was like, okay.
Curious white woman mauled by bear. News at 10. Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, Veronica, that makes sense. Okay, so he called the sister a bunch. He even said, God wants you to join Shari Faye to her. And then John Douglas, love of our lives, John Douglas, profiler, was like, we could definitely use Dawn, Shari Faye's sister, as bait. He wrote those words down in his book. And I was like, in what world? So they like did set up a thing and it didn't end up happening. Like it didn't really work out, but they used really cool Oh, and then he would go on to abduct and kill a 9-year-old who was blonde hair, blue eyes, like Shari Faye was. But like, I thought that was so interesting, like the age discrepancy, because usually you find preferential offenders and they stay within their certain ages. Mm. And to go prepubescent seems like such a weird, but I guess if you are devolving, like he's dealing with the Shari Faye stress.
Yeah.
And she's easy. And like they're picked up at their driveways in their front of their homes, which was also wild. But then they used really cool forensics to catch him, I thought. The like finding whatever was on top of the pad of paper.
Oh, yeah, I thought that was wild.
Yeah, and they like were able to find the etching of a phone number and then trace that phone number to a home of a couple that he had been house sitting for that was close to the Smith's house, and that's how they caught him. Which is like, way to go forensics. But yeah, super weird. And then he started pretending to be Jesus Christ as his like insanity defense during trial, which the jury didn't go for because, okay. Crazy person, and then chose to be electrocuted instead of lethal injection.
Because he probably thought that was going to get him off.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Like, because why would you choose electrocution?
Why would you choose the electric? Yeah, because have you heard about them cases where the motherfucker don't die the first time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You just around this bitch slobbing and you still alive?
And you've shit yourself. You've evacuated.
And you shit yourself. Yeah, if you've already shit yourself, and they're like, so should we do it again? No. Now you sit around this motherfucker just drooling on the side, and you thought, what? You can't write shit. The whole left, right side of your face is just, or your shit just low. You just slide.
No.
You can't do shit, but like, because it sometimes doesn't, like the gas chamber, it chokes you to death. So sometimes that's why they don't want to do it that way.
Yeah.
Lethal injection puts you to sleep before they kill you.
Kind of.
You feel it at the very last second. It's like a boat.
And you're like paralyzed when they put it in. It's like, I've heard it's probably not the best. My question is, why can't they just like hella morphine? Just hella morphine and then you die.
Will too much morphine kill you?
Yes.
Well, okay. That was a dumb question because like too much of a lot of things will kill you.
Too many bananas can kill you, which is what the fucking lethal injection is.
No.
So maybe
it's an overload of potassium. It's an overload.
If you're on death row, it's just we feed you lots of bananas until you die.
I had this moment a while back that I thought I was gonna get mercury poisoning because I was eating too much tuna. Like
Stacy.
the over amount of recommended amount of tuna that you should eat.
But that's why you can't, because you can't get it. That's why they tell you that, literally. Like, you're not supposed to eat ahi tuna steaks. You're not supposed to eat that. You're supposed to eat it at the most twice a week.
Yeah,
If you try to eat ahi tuna every day, you will fucking die.
How much were you eating, Stace?
I don't want to talk about it.
Well, you brought it up. Let's go.
Did. Okay. If I had to put like, okay, let's think of it in terms of cans of tuna.
Do we have
I
to?
had to put a number. Well, because it was like mixed between like ahi and like chopped up tuna. I don't know.
And
I was on
dolphin
tuna
meat.
for a while.
And dolphin meat.
Dolphin free.
Oh, it was dolphin free.
Sure.
Dolphin free. I would have to say. Oh no!
I'm sad.
What's that dolphin movie? That was
Flipper.
Flipper.
Look, this is my sad dolphin. Sorry. My sad dolphin impression.
Sad dolphin that I ate.
Yeah, that's his cousin.
I would have to say I was probably eating like 3 to 4 cans a week for a while.
It's not bad.
Yeah,
Okay,
especially cans because it's processed, I would think.
And it's small amounts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Stacy is small, though.
Yeah, we know, because the way you gave the description, which is horrible earlier.
I'm 5'2".
I can't wait
But she said
to meet
5'2" is
her.
nothing wrong with that, but it's like she got hobbit feet and all this other shit. The fuck type of friend are you? You 5'2" with a club foot. What the fuck is wrong?
Thank you, Jay.
I'm the single one out of the 3 of us friends, so I get, you know
That's
what?
fair.
Wait, who am I with?
No, not you. I mean, with Kristen. We're like very long-term friends.
Oh, I was like, who the fuck am I
You're
with?
like,
I didn't know.
excuse me. That's why I'm not attacking you, Jay.
Oh, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I got a relationship now and I didn't know. Oh, I made it. Okay.
No, us singles got to stick together. The minute you get a relationship, I'm going to start talking about your feet on fucking podcast too. Like, let's go.
You ain't got to. I'll talk about my shit myself. My shit look like Fred Flintstone that has walked from bedrock through slavery to here today. I know what the struggle is in these motherfuckers. These yabba dabba don'ts on my goddamn ankles. I know what the fuck I got. You ain't got to do it. I do it my goddamn self. I beat you to the fucking point. The fuck?
You're giving me so many like really great catchphrases right now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yabba dabba don't. Get out of here. Okay, so I think that's pretty
That
much
was pretty much Larry Jean Bell.
That's Larry Jean Bell. He's shitty. I don't like him.
What I
Hard
thought
pass.
was really hard pass. What I thought was really weird and interesting was the whole like
Jay's got a problem.
go for it, Jay.
What was the other option beside a hard pass? And I don't like him. No. What was the other option? Like, when you say it that way, this isn't the Shemar Moore scale of 1 Shemars to 5 Shemars. This is a motherfucking serial killer. The dude was like, oh, like, hard pass. Was there an acceptance at some point? What was the You know what? Go ahead. Nope.
Like, he's not one that I would delve into. Like, if there was a book about him, I'd be like, no thanks. You know what I mean?
No.
He's not like top shelf serial killer. I don't want to talk about my problems.
You do a whole motherfucking podcast. You clearly are talking about your You know what? I'm just gonna sit here and just let this play itself out. Nope, not gonna do that today. Not me, Jesus. Nope, not me, Jesus. Nope.
I'm sad.
This motherfucker literally sat here and said, I don't, it's not like he's my top. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to have top serial killers.
No, the fuck you don't. No, you don't. I don't know why you felt like you needed to say that. And you tried to justify it.
Yeah, I did. I like to double down. I'll just stand my ground.
Absolutely.
Halfway through the argument, I'll realize I'm wrong, and I will
not pivot.
not back down.
You know what? Whatever works.
I have
The conviction
no
is
personal
strong
growth.
with this one.
No.
No personal growth. It's fine. All right, Stacy, were you saying something?
I was bringing it back to our guy Larry.
Oh, Larry.
Good old Veronica's favorite. I did think it was really interesting, the last will and testament aspect of this, that he made her write and that was sent to the family, and just like that was really unique. And I'd never seen that from like some of the other cases that we've looked at that have held on to victims for a while.
Yeah, and we will actually see that with another episode where they make them call their family members. So it's funny that they do use actually a lot of this guy's case in episodes, and that full will and testament is printed in the Mindhunter book. And I just thought it was so sad because in it she kept just reiterating how much she loved her family and that none of this was their fault, and to not let him ruin their lives or her kidnapping ruin their lives. And I was just like, for a 17-year-old, I think, to possess that kind of
emotional intelligence.
Yeah, it makes it even more sad that, like, she was clearly someone who was very, very special.
Right. Well, also, too, like, a traumatic experience will inevitably change your emotional intelligence, too, and how you respond to it. So, that makes sense.
Yeah, that was very sad.
That was my thought.
Good job, Stace.
Thank you. So
next to my note that he chose to die by electrocution, I wrote, what would you choose?
To fucking live?
Jay's like, the parole board. I would take my chances with the parole board.
Look, I've changed my life. If listen, if you're on death row, there's no parole board. If you're on death row, knock me out.
So your lethal injection.
Whatever look, Lord knows I never want to ever be in this situation where those are my final choices, where I've put myself where it's like people are watching me dying and like, good, let them go. But lethal injection, I don't, as minimal as possible. I don't want to choke to death in a gas chamber because that's like the second worst thing next to drowning. I don't want to be electrocuted because, again, I'm not trying to end up in this motherfucker like...
Not trying to shit yourself in front of an audience.
Now, if I just shit myself, my whole face is just like, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, this was trying to be a victim of the liquor chair. But they didn't pay the full late bill, so now here I am. I don't want to be like that. So... No.
I'm dead.
I'm gonna stick with Jay on this one. I want to be put to sleep.
I wish they had like a cryogenic chamber, like a freezing chamber where you could freeze to death.
That is not a quick thing either.
It's supposed to be the best thing though, because you get really warm and then you just fall asleep. So I choose secret option. Freeze to death.
Option.
I'd probably pick
secret option. What is this? The Starbucks menu of executions?
Yeah, you could just get off menu, Probably.
Can I get the pink drink execution, please? Yeah.
Pink drink execution.
Yeah. Oh, that probably makes you shit yourself too.
It just depends. Speaking from experience.
Of shitting yourself of the pink drink.
I'm kidding.
Aren't you so glad to be here, Jay?
This is happening, y'all.
Welcome
to Criminal Gines.
Will we get to see you back again, Jay?
After I have a couple of therapy sessions, probably so.
Perfect.
Talk to my therapist. I got to reevaluate some new techniques I've been using, and then ma'am.
Oh my gosh, I'm dead. Well, before we go, I want to bring back the Millbrook twins, Jeanette and Danette Millbrook, who were abducted in Atlanta, Georgia, 1990. And who were the sisters? Are they still missing, Jay? The sisters?
Mm-hmm. Diamond and Tiana Bradley.
And Tiana Bradley.
Mm-hmm.
And where were they abducted?
I believe it was Minnesota.
In Minnesota.
If I'm not mistaken, yeah. And they had but they had like family in Chicago. Let me double check.
Okay. Well, I'll get that information too. If you have any information on the Millbrook twins, contact the Atlanta FBI field office and we'll put numbers up and stuff on the screen and we'll find the information as well for Diamond and Tiana because Bradley, because they should be still being searched for. There's a very good chance that they are still alive. We have not found bodies. No one has found bodies. So we have to assume that they are alive and could potentially come home.
Correct.
Yeah, yes, indeed. They just were recently honored at a vigil in July of 2022. They still haven't been found. They've been missing since 2001.
Yeah. And after 7 years, you can legally have someone declared dead. So a lot of times families do that to be able to move on, but that does not mean that these people should be stopped looking for.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So I'll have all that information up in the edit and yeah, if you have any information, contact the field offices numbers below. If you have any information on the disappearance of Danette and Jeanette Millbrook, please call the Richmond County Sheriff's Office at 706-821-1020. If you have any information on the disappearance of Tianda and Diamond Bradley, please contact the Chicago Police at 312-747-5789. Join us again next week for episode 6, where we discuss long-distance serial killers.